Hello beautiful, this is Joana Saahirah with a bonus class offered within my online course, Romantic Egyptian Dance Choreography, how to bring love into your dance and into your life. This bonus video is in the curriculum of the course and I am exceptionally choosing to share it in my YouTube channel. I do that every once in a while. Sometimes I take content from my online school, from my workshops around the world, from my private coaching, and I offer it to the community. So here it is. I hope you enjoy it. This one is about the fear of emotion, why it's so important for Egyptian dance and for life, and why we're so afraid of emotion. Before I dig into the main reasons why I observe I am afraid of emotion and most of my students and people I know are afraid of emotion, let me contextualize. Let me tell you why am I bringing emotion to the table? First of all, there is no Egyptian dance without emotion. And of course, a lot of people will feel annoyed when I say this. Who is Joana to tell us what is Egyptian dance? Well, then again, this is my vision of Egyptian dance. It is what I know from my own experience of Egyptian dance from Egypt, from the core, from all that I've lived and witnessed and learned in my career and life. So you are welcome to disagree. For me, according to my experience and my knowledge, there is no Egyptian dance without authentic emotion. And I mean authentic. I don't mean masks. I don't mean pretending to feel. I mean feeling it for real. Just like a good actor, a good Oriental dancer is the one who does not pretend to feel, is someone who really gets into the emotional experience through the music and is able to feel it for real and to express it truthfully and completely. So there is no Egyptian dance without emotional expression, and I believe there is no real life, juicy life without emotion. If we have our hearts closed, if we choose not to love, not to feel sadness, not to feel joy, if we choose not to open our hearts towards lovers, friends, students, the people in our lives, we will somehow protect ourselves from disappointment, but we will also become sterile and impermeable to life and its blessings. So I do believe there is no living, great living without emotion, without allowing emotions to flow through us. May those emotions be pleasant or unpleasant. And certainly there is no Egyptian dance without true, authentic, mask-free emotion. And now let's dig into the main fears that I've observed that refrain us, that stop us from feeling emotion when we're dancing and when we're living, because you already know that. For me, there is no difference between Egyptian dance and life. What I learned for Egyptian dance, I learned for life and vice versa. So let's dig in. Reason number one why we fear emotion and why we avoid it so much in our dance and in our life. Before I tell you what it is, I'm going to tell you a story. I've always been a very masculine person. I've always been the kind of girl and woman who goes for things, who embraces this goal-oriented productivity, achievement, battlefield world. We live in a masculine world, and I have embraced my masculine polarity fully. And for many years, that was the only reality I knew. I was totally focused and only focused in my career. I went into the battlefield every day. I did not have space or did not want to create space for stillness, for feeling, for just being. I wanted to do, I wanted to achieve, I wanted to prove myself through my external success. And that is something that our society support very much in women and in men. Now there is a problem with this polarity when it's the only thing that we do, it's the only focus that we have. It makes us machines. It turns us into sterile, producing, achieving, goal-oriented machines. And in order to be fully human, we need the feminine polarity, which brings the feeling, brings the emotion, brings those things that may not grant us another achievement in our curriculum, but will surely grant us more happiness, more fulfillment, more joy outside of the work field, outside of the external success field. So the first reason why we fear emotion and avoid it so much, it's because we live in a society or in societies that do not support the feminine polarity. They do not support creating space for emotion. They do not give us the time and the permission to be human. We live in societies that are slowly but surely turning us into machines or extension of machines. And what Egyptian dance stands for is humanity, going back to our human divine selves. So when we study Egyptian dance, we come face to face with this contradiction between what the world at large wants me to be and what I'm supposed to become as a human being. So one of the reasons we fear the emotion is certainly this conflict between the masculine and the feminine polarity. The masculine polarity being the things that the world tell us we have to be, and the feminine polarity being the human side of us, the emotional side of us, the heart side of us that tells us we can stop, we can enjoy, we can celebrate, we can exist and breathe and be without producing, without achieving, without proving ourselves and our worth through external success. In this sense, as in many others, I teach by example. Then again, as I admitted, I am by character and by a lot of factors, a very masculine woman. But I learned that if I did not bring the feminine polarity into my dance and into my life, I too would become a machine. My dance would become a puppet show, like so many puppet shows I see around the world. I would wear masks. I would not be real. I would not be authentic, not in my dance and not in my life. I would not open my heart to joy, to love, to passion. I would not be present, fully present as a human being. And that is something I don't wish for myself and I don't wish for you. So the first thing I will invite you to do is to bring both of these polarities into your life. Then again, if you want to know more, dig into the course from where I took this class. You have all the information about the course and the school in the description box below this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you are inside of the course, you know exactly where to find the information. Let's go for our reason number 2. Reason number 2, why we avoid emotion in our life and in our dance. Emotion slows us down. Yes. Emotion or feeling makes us slower. And again, let's think globally. Let's think in the lifestyle that we're all into. We live in a world that permeates, that prizes, that values speed. We live in a world where we try to get as much as we can done in the shortest amount of time. Nonetheless, emotion will slow you down. Every time you feel deeply, you stop. We cannot have an extreme emotional experience running the marathon. We cannot feel joy and love and sadness while we're running from point A to point Z, trying to get things done. In fact, lots of us, including myself, run away from emotions by doing more and doing faster. If we add more speed, if we add more things on our to-do list, we can run away from emotion. At least we believe so. Of course, this is not true because emotion is part of our experience as human beings. So when you repress emotion, it will come out usually in a destructive way through physical disease, mental disease, all sorts of disorders that will come as a consequence of not acknowledging what we're feeling and running away from it. But we think that if we keep moving and faster and doing more, that we will escape the experience of being sitting in that feeling, in that emotion, and being slowed down. Of course, slowing down and stillness have a bad reputation as well because they are not productive. When I stop, when I'm still, when I'm meditating, when I'm just enjoying a book or a movie or whatever does not bring a productive end, I kind of feel guilty. There is a side of me that tells me you should be doing something productive. You should be adding something to society. You should be creating some work, some value. Why are you wasting your time just enjoying yourself? And this kind of message is something that all of us feel consciously or unconsciously, and it's a message that is collectively bringing us to the verge of a nervous breakdown, right? This is why meditation has become so trendy these days, because people are desperate. They're feeling their mental sanity going down the drain. So one of the main reasons why we run away from emotion, but one of the main reasons why we should run towards it, is the slowness, slowing down. Now, slowing down does not make you a worse dancer. In fact, it makes you a better dancer, because dance is a combination of action and stillness, of speed and slowness, and it certainly does not make you a worse human being. Quite the opposite. When you bring slowness or stillness into your life, you become more aware of yourself. You become more aware of what's important and what's not. You become more aware of your thoughts, of your priorities, of your insecurities. You get centered. Yes, I love speed. Yes, I love action. I also discovered I absolutely need slowness and stillness in my dance and in my life. And emotion, getting deeply into emotion, is a direct way to slow me down, to make me still, and once more to go back to my humanity, to go back to my heart, to what makes me vulnerable, therefore powerful. I invite you to try doing the same. You will not regret it. Reason number 3 why we fear emotion and why we avoid bringing it into our dance and into our life. It has to do with vulnerability and how we associate vulnerability with weakness. Now, when we become aware of our emotions, when we allow ourselves to experience them, may them be pleasant or unpleasant. We're talking about a very wide range of emotions: sadness and joy and despair and hope and excitement and hopelessness and rage and peace and passion and envy and jealousy and strength and generosity and openness and fear and courage. There are so many colors in our emotional range. But whatever the emotion we're feeling, it certainly brings us to a spot of vulnerability. When I allow myself to feel vulnerable, I kind of open my heart and I expose it to the crowd. So there is a sense of vulnerability in bringing emotion into our dance and into our life, that's for sure. And there is nothing wrong with that. We may feel unprotected, we may feel unsafe, because vulnerability is openness. It's showing myself exactly as I am, therefore being open to judgment and criticism, right? As opposed to hiding myself. Nobody sees me, nobody can criticize me, nobody can touch me, nobody can hurt me. So vulnerability is for sure a kind of openness that exposes us to the world. But it is certainly not weakness. It's the opposite of weakness. Hiding and the fear of being seen is weakness. When I take a step forward and I open my heart and I reveal who I am in my dance and in my life, I'm not weak, I'm strong. And this is something I learned in First in my shows in Cairo, a lot of it from my musicians, and then something that I confirmed again and again as I performed around the world to different audiences of different nationalities and different characters and different backgrounds. One very universal truth about Egyptian dance and life is that when you are vulnerable, when you reveal yourself exactly as you are, other human beings connect with you. They feel you. You become a mirror to them. Instead of putting yourself in a weak place, you put yourself in a very powerful place of an instant leader, an instant reference, because all of us crave that kind of freedom of being seen fearlessly for who we are. So one of the things that I noticed as I worked around the world was that, yes, there are different cultures and different cultures approach emotion differently. There are different educations and different educations approach emotion differently. If you were raised by parents that allowed you to express yourself emotionally, chances are nowadays you are someone who has no problem feeling and expressing feeling. If you were raised by parents who were closed emotionally, chances are you are reproducing that behavior. The same thing with culture. Certain cultures like the Latin culture or the Arabic culture are comfortable with emotion. So these cultures produce, generally speaking, human beings who are more expressive emotionally. They are more revelatory of who they are. You can see what people are feeling through their face and the way they speak. I mean, just look at me. You know I'm a Latin girl when you see me speaking like this, and everything I think and feel can be seen on my face and in my arms and in my body. But certain cultures are more closed, like the Chinese or the Japanese. They consider the expression of emotion a very intimate, private experience, not something that you should do in public. So what I mean by this is that independently of the culture and the education that you are in, there is a very universal truth, which is when I open my heart in my dance and in my life and I show myself as I really am, when I am vulnerable, I am not weak, I am powerful, and other human beings will feel that power. The thinking behind this mirror is, she's so powerful or he's so powerful, she or he is not afraid of revealing who they are. Oh my God, this person is so powerful, they are free. They're not hiding. They don't need to pretend they're not feeling. They're so powerful, they're not afraid to open their heart. That's a statement, and a statement that speaks of truth and power and humanity and courage. It is not weakness, certainly. So I suggest that you replace the association that we usually do, vulnerability and weakness, by vulnerability and power and strength. And try it. Try it. Try opening your heart and revealing who you are in your dance and in your life, and then see the difference. Reason number 4, why we're so afraid of emotion and why we avoid bringing it into our dance and into our life. Emotion cannot be controlled intellectually, and we live in a world ruled by the intellect, by the rational mind, the things that we can understand in our rational brain, through our rational brain. Now, it is scary, and again, I speak from my own experience. I'm a very mental person. I'm a very intellectual person. I like to understand reality as much as possible. I like to understand what the hell is going on, and emotion is something that you cannot understand intellectually. It is a completely different area. It's like water and air. They mix, but they're not the same. I will not get into the water by understanding the air, the same way I do not get into emotion by understanding the rational mind or trying to intellectualize it. So one of the reasons why we avoid emotion so much is because we cannot control it, and we cannot control it mentally. We cannot understand it. Why do I feel this way? Why do I love this person so much? Why do I dislike it so much? Why do I feel so sad? Sometimes, or I would say most of the times, we cannot pinpoint why that emotion is what it is and why we're feeling it, and that drives us nuts. Now, there is a very interesting thing to acknowledge and I think accept if possible, which is our reality is composed of things we can understand, we can intellectually grasp, and things that we cannot. I call it the mystery. The same way life, I believe, is a mix between what we can do and what is happening, independently of what we do. We may call it destiny, fate, life, randomness, whatever. I do believe we have an input on our reality, and there is a side of our reality which is not decided by us, our thoughts, feelings, and actions. The same way, there is a part of reality we can experience through the mind, the rational mind, and there is a part of reality we can only experience, period. We do not understand it. And accepting the mystery, getting into emotion, not from a perspective of wanting to control it and wanting to understand what the hell is that and how can I control it, but just going into it fearlessly or fearfully, but just going into it, it's a key to great Egyptian dance and to great living. Feeling the fear of not having control, a very important one if you want to become more emotional, therefore more alive. Try it. It's a challenge, but it's an interesting one, and I assure you it will open your understanding of life and your understanding of your own humanity and of the multidimensional realities that compose this experience we call alive. It's very interesting. Accept what you can understand and accept what you cannot understand. That would be emotion. Just dig into it, go deep into the ocean, enjoy it, go through it, and come to the surface again. It's a beautiful movement in dance and in life. Reason number 5, why we're so afraid of emotion and why we avoid bringing it into our dance and into our life. This one is about the distortion of the concept of happiness, or a misconcept. Now, we are sold the idea that happiness is a constant state of bliss and smiles and unicorns and joyfulness, but we all know, if we've been alive for a while, that is not possible and that's not real. Even the happiest person will go through loss. Even the happiest person will feel sad every once in a while, will feel disappointed and hopeless every once in a while. Happiness is not a constant or chronic state of joyfulness. It's a base of contentment where we can go back to, where we can bounce back after life throw us down and up and yes and no, after life throw us into the valley of sorrow and into the peaks of the mountains. Happiness is a state of contentment I call home. It's a nest that you can go back to after you felt lost, after you felt sad, after you felt desperate. Living is not a straight line, it is a dynamic process, and so is dance. So one of the things that emotion brings to the table is colorfulness. So sometimes I will feel sad, sometimes I will feel happy, sometimes I will feel dark, sometimes I will feel light, sometimes I will feel hopeful, sometimes I will feel lost, sometimes I will feel peaceful, sometimes I will feel furious, sometimes I will feel generous, sometimes I will feel selfish. All of this is part of the experience of being human. When you reject the unpleasant emotions because you think you should not feel them, you are not allowed, permitted to feel them, you cut or you disempower a huge part of your humanness, of your humanity. And what Egyptian dance asks you to do is to bring all those emotions to the table. Of course, we don't have to stay in sadness. We don't have to stay in rage. We don't have to stay in hopelessness. That's where the problem starts, because emotions are like waves. They are water. We should go through them. We should move through them. We should not be stuck in them. That is the problem, and one of the reasons so many of us confuse emotions with being stuck with emotions. Those are two different things. I can allow myself to feel and to move through emotion without being defined by emotion. So I am not a sad person. I feel sad right now. I am not a hopeless person. I feel hopeless right now. I am not a furious person. I just feel furious right now. Emotions are transitory. They move like water, like waves. And we're supposed to allow them to move through us and to move through them without being defined by them or getting stuck in them. What we fear the most is, first of all, getting stuck in the negative emotions, and second of all, being labeled as unhappy or unsuccessful because we feel down, because one day we don't feel we get what's going on before, because when in one moment we don't know how to make things right, because in one moment we feel disempowered, we feel dark, we feel less than our sunny, smiley, beautiful, wise selves. But again, that is part of being human. And when you reject the unpleasant emotions, you also reject the pleasant emotions. If you don't dig deeply into sadness when you're feeling sadness, you will not dig deeply into joy when you're feeling joy. If you do not allow yourself to go down when you're down, you will not allow yourself to go up, really up, and celebrate it when you're up. So what I invite you to do is first to acknowledge that happiness is not a constant state of smiley joyfulness. Happiness is a state of contentment and gratitude, that we can bounce back to when life throws us off the cliff. Happiness is also about experiencing all the multitude of experiences and feelings and insights and thoughts that this human experience has to offer. Happiness is not only about the day or the light or the sunny or the smiling. It's also about the dark and the damp and the ugly. All of that is part of our human experience. When you bring both spectrums of emotion, the pleasant and the unpleasant, to the table, you become a way more interesting Oriental dancer, but most importantly, you become more human. You allow yourself to be human, and that obviously changes the way you relate with yourself and you relate with others, because when you allow yourself to be human, you allow others to be human as well. I would suggest you would give it a try. All of this is my experience. All of this is a mix of knowledge I accumulated and observation and so many things that go through my vision, my perspective. So I'm sharing these concepts with you. Think about them, try them out, consider them, and then take your own conclusions. Whatever fits you, fits me. It's all good. Reason number 6 of why we fear emotion and why we try to avoid it in our dance and in our life. Emotion threatens our sense of survival. Yeah, this is a hard one. I will try to put it into a few words, hopefully clearly. Our sense of survival, or our survival instinct, is a flight or fight mode that we have carried in our genes since the beginning of time. We are made to protect ourselves and our families and the things that we hold dearly to our hearts. So one of the states, or I would say the state most of us live in, is a state of flight or fight, a state of attention and mental and physical readiness, of stress. This is something that happens for many reasons, of course. We may talk about the economy, we may talk about the unsafety that we feel nowadays, the insecurity about what will come, the fact that laws and the environment and all these collective issues are putting us on a hot spot of insecurity, of not knowing what tomorrow will bring. And what emotion does is taking you away of this fight or flight mode. Emotion once more brings you in, and it kinds of makes you forget about the readiness to react, the speed of reaction, the stress. Emotion releases stress, and stress is necessary to fight if we are in a state of insecurity and uncertainty. So emotion and stress are not very good together. They don't go very good together. And we live in a state of stress and insecurity. So what happens when we bring more emotion to our lives is that we are not so ready to fight or flight in a moment of fear or danger or emergency. So we feel insecure, almost like not having space. There is no space for emotion. We have better things to worry about, right? So what I will invite you to do is to distress a little bit, because then again, there is so much we cannot control, and accept that emotion may not be what you need to fight or flight, but it is what you need to become more human. Now, imagine the savannah, and there is a deer being hunted by a lion. The deer knows that in order to survive, she doesn't need to feel, she just needs to run and to think, where is the nearest hiding spot? Where can I hide from this lion? So in this state of stress or of fight or flight, the deer does not have space for feeling. She will not feel sad or happy. She just wants to survive. And the thing here is, we feel like we are the deer being chased by an invisible lion all the time. I know, this is creepy as hell, but it's true. Observe it. We live in a constant state of stress, of running away from something and running towards something we don't really know what it is. And what emotion asks us to do is to go away from that running, stressful state and to actually be and experience and feel. Look at this beautiful day. Look at this light. Look at how warm my body feels when I'm recording this video for you. Look at my hair and how it feels. Look at how joyful and peaceful I am. I am feeling right now the gratitude for this moment. I'm feeling the gratitude for the love in my life, for all the people that surround me, my friends, my partner, my students, my work collaborators, my father, my mother. I think about my niece and my nephew and all the people and things that I love, and my heart is filled with joy. I may not be ready to run, to fight or flight, but I am ready to live right now, unconditionally. And that is what emotion, or allowing emotion in, brings into your dance and into your life. You become more present, you become more grateful, more aware of the joys of the heart. And those are the joys that build a magical dance and a magical life. I hope this class was helpful and inspiring to you. There are many other reasons why we feel emotion. And again, in the course that I mentioned, Romantic Egyptian Dance Choreography, How to Bring Love into Your Dance and into Your Life, we explore all the fears surrounding emotion. But for now, these are the ones I want you to consider. These are the ones I want you to think about and eventually reframe and use them in your dance and in your life, in both areas. Let me know how it goes. Then again, All the information about the course is in the description box below this video if you're watching this on YouTube. If not, you are inside Joana Saahirah's Online Dance School. I thank you for that. And if that's the case, I will see you in our next class. If not, I will see you somewhere around the world or at Joana Saahirah's Online Dance School. Either way, receive my love and a kiss.